Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm gonna talk about two of my most favorite shooting modes for fast action photography, something like for sports or for wildlife. These two modes are manual mode and shutter priority mode. There's another mode that you can use. It's aperture priority, but I don't like it because in some situations, because of the lighting conditions, your aperture is gonna stay constant, but your shutter speed is going to be varied and decided by the camera, and sometimes it is too low and causes a blur in your photos. Shooting in manual mode gives you full control over the exposure, and you're controlling the shutter speed and also the aperture and ISO. In manual mode, you can set your shutter speed to freeze the motion using a higher shutter speed like 1,000th of a second or 1/2000th of a second or higher. Or in some cases, you can lower your shutter speed to have some kind of a blur in the image. Usually I use over 1,000th of a second or 1/2000th of a second for wildlife. And when I want to shoot people, I usually go something like 1/500th of a second or 1,000th of a second. By controlling the aperture, you are able to control the depth of field. For a shallower depth of field, you can go with a wider aperture like 2.8, 4, 5.6, and for a deeper depth of field, you can use higher apertures like 8 or 11 or 16. To set the ISO when you're shooting outdoor, you can go from 100 to 5 or 600, and indoor shots, when you're shooting sport, you can go up to 1600 or 3200 depending on the on your camera and its ability to shoot indoor and in low light. Now let me give you a couple of tips when you're shooting in manual mode. First of all, use burst or continuous shooting to shot multiple frames of the same subject. And the second one, you can set your camera to auto ISO. So you set the aperture and shutter speed, and the camera chooses the right ISO for your scene. And it is very useful, especially when you follow your subject and the light keeps changing, so you don't have to be worried about the exposure. There's another feature that you can use. It's exposure compensation. But remember, when you are in manual ISO and your ISO is not set to automatic, exposure compensation doesn't work. So you have to switch to auto to be able to use exposure compensation. And the second mode is shutter priority. In this mode, you set the shutter speed and the camera chooses the aperture and ISO. I prefer manual mode because in shutter priority, sometimes depending on the lighting situation, your aperture is gonna be narrow and it's gonna ruin your depth of field, or vice versa, it's gonna be too wide and it's gonna be too shallow. But in manual mode, you have the control over the aperture and also the shutter speed. In shutter priority, you can use auto ISO, and the camera is gonna choose the right ISO, so you don't have to be worried about the exposure. But the only concern, as I mentioned, is gonna be your depth of field. And also I'm gonna show you how to set these modes in the menu of the Nikon Z6 III. Set your camera to manual mode and make sure that you are in continuous shooting mode. Then you can set your shutter speed. As you can see, I can change and set the aperture, and ISO is 800. In order to set the ISO to auto ISO, just go to menu, photo shooting menu, and ISO sensitivity setting, and turn this on. I'm gonna put the maximum sensitivity to 6400 or maybe 8000. So I'm done here, and you can see that I can switch between manual ISO and auto ISO. Now let's set the camera to shutter priority, and as you can see, you can choose your shutter, and the camera chooses the aperture. And when you get to the widest aperture, which is 2.8 on this 28mm lens, then the ISO is going to be changed. And that's it. It's so easy, and you're ready to shoot. Thank you guys for watching the video, and I hope you find it useful. If you did, just don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm posting a new video every week on Monday or Tuesday, and by subscribing, you won't be missing any of the future videos. If you have any question, just leave it in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer them for you, and it's going to be my pleasure. Also, share with me your experience with these two modes, and let me know which one is your favorite. As usual, take good care, keep shooting, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.